So I'm not going to say that video game trailers don't get me hyped up for games. Like, a lot of them do, and over the last decade, there have been some pretty darn good ones. But this morning, Nintendo released a trailer for Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom that wipes the floor with basically every video game trailer that I can remember off of the top of my head. Hi folks, it's Falcon, and today on gameranx, let's talk about this damn Tears of the Kingdom trailer. So Breath of the Wild is a landmark game. I love it, you love it, there's problems with it that I imagine will probably be inherited by its successor. I'm looking at you deteriorating weapons, unless they've managed to do it in a way that I don't hate, like made it so that you can repair them, learning a little lesson from the knife in Resident Evil 4. But I mean, come on, it's Breath of the Wild. It has significantly influenced open world games since its release, and so much of what we consider conventional now, just a few years later, came from this game. Certainly, I was excited for a continuation of the story because I never really felt like Calamity Ganon was more than just a force of nature, like a real antagonist. And that works for a story. I enjoyed it. But there was something that needed to be satisfied. Like, this Zelda was clearly not the end of a story. No Zelda really is, but even as they wrapped everything up in the end game of Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, I always had a sense that something else was gonna happen. That is to say, this wasn't the typical cycle of the hero, so to speak. They've established that the Legend of Zelda world is cyclical, and it kind of felt like stopping a force of calamity wasn't the same thing that you're dealing with the ancient evil of Ganon. And at this point, we have seen some gameplay demos of Tears of the Kingdom, and they've introduced some pretty cool new mechanics. We've also seen 2 previous trailers, but I just feel like this is the first time we've really seen the game. Which is weird, considering the gameplay demos like specifically detailed mechanics in a way where I definitely understand what they're going for mechanically speaking. This just didn't hit the way this trailer hit, though. We saw Skeleton Ganon before, we saw that the world has been transformed before, but I feel like this is the first time we really get what this game is and how much bigger the scope of it from the previous game is. Like, this trailer's jam-packed with so much exciting new content that showcases just how massive this game is going to be. In fact, I'm gonna say this did a significantly better job than getting me interested in the game than the gameplay demonstration we got a few weeks ago. Like, the sheer variety of gameplay scenarios this shows is shocking. Every single shot comes at us with something completely different, and I feel like in a lot of ways stitched together a lot of the stuff that was shown in that gameplay demonstration in a way where it's like, oh, okay, this stuff is going to come together in this way. And it's all set to the stunning music that builds on the previous game's soundtrack, which was also phenomenal. I mean, during the course of this trailer, we saw new enemies for Link to face off against, a bunch of new contraptions Link can use to traverse the game's world. We saw new abilities that were just like so wild, you're not completely sure what you're looking at, but that piques your interest, you know? Like this shot where Link catches a boulder in midair with an ability and throws it back. I don't really know exactly what's going on there or how that works. Like, is it building on the time freeze ability from the last one? Is it a new ability? The way it was used was just something that we have not seen. And it looked fairly fluid and cool. I think that once I've played the game and it sort of teaches me how to use it and gets me used to it, I'm gonna be throwing boulders back at everybody I possibly can be. And that's just like one thing over almost 4 minutes of continual new things. Like, pretty much the most impressive aspect of this trailer is showing us the sheer size, the scale of this game's world. This looks absolutely massive, and the graphics are breathtaking. I don't know how they're doing this on Switch. Like, if you remember, Breath of the Wild was sometimes a bit difficult for the Switch hardware, although, to be fair, it was a game that wasn't developed specifically for the Switch hardware. It was developed for the Wii U, and this game is 100% developed for the Switch hardware from the very start of the development cycle, so certainly the hardware is going to be utilized better this time around. Still, no previous version of showing off Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom has really showed us how many Sky Islands there are. There's so much more than I thought there was. And I thought there was a fair amount. They're everywhere though, and it seems like this was a brilliant way of not only expanding on the world map, which is not a different world map, but also linking us back. Get it? Linking us back to Skyward Sword, the first game in the series' chronological continuity. Or is it? So I said this on Twitter a couple of months ago. Tears of the Kingdom is going to make the timeline into a loop. Ganon will revert into Demise, making Demise's name make sense. Zelda will revert to Hylia, the goddess, and all of this is given away literally by the logo of the game. I think this trailer is heavily leaning in that direction. If it's not that exactly, it's something like that. Because I think we saw both Ganon, who did the opposite of the word demise by regenerating from that skeleton in the Hyrule Castle basement into his pure Ocarina of Time glory. And I'm pretty sure we saw Demise too. Like, there's a big old Demise looking figure with some crazy red hair, which yes, links him to Ganon as well. The hair was kind of tentacles or maybe fire or something, but this guy had scales. Look at his arm. There's scales there. Also, they didn't show his face, but I think we're seeing both Ganon and Demise here, and I think that it's also possible that Ganon's demise creates Demise, which would loop us back to Skyward Sword. I mean, we certainly got Sky Islands, did we not? Like, it's right there. There's also some ruins in this Hyrule that correspond to Skyward Sword ruins. I mean, having it be both the last game chronologically in the series as well as the origin of the first game, that'd be pretty cool, would it not? We'll see. I think there's strong evidence here, though. I'd love to be right. Honestly, that is such a cool idea for the trajectory of this, and I think probably some version of that is what we're in store for, but from the looks, it's going to be a lot more detailed. And another aspect of this trailer that's really exciting to see is like the involvement of characters and allies from previous games. Like, it looks like they're going to be playing a much more significant role in Link's adventures this time around. We even saw fights including them, and that could be really cool. Like, are they going to be actual companions in battle at some point? Seems like a lot of things are raising from the dead in this game. Further, okay, so the towns look a lot busier, like there's a lot more people moving around and doing things. They've rebuilt things, they've built new things. There's really like some interesting stuff, like these mushroom / umbrella looking things in Hateno Village. Like, are those man-made? Are they structures or are they plants? They look like they're made out of cloth, but who really knows? There's just a lot of new, interesting questions to ask. I think it looks very clearly more immersive as a real lived-in world. And to say that about the world that existed in Breath of the Wild is kind of shocking, because they sold it, you know? Like, I never really thought it sounded like they screwed up per se, you know? And also, if they staved off the calamity, this looks like a world that's been rebuilding. I really like everything I'm seeing. From the tents and makeshift villages that are sort of coming up around Hyrule Castle to those busier, more traditional looking towns, it just seems like society is moving forward after the big event. And it turns out that the big event wasn't the main event. The calm is so clearly interrupted by all of this scary crap coming up out of the ground, and seems like Zelda is lost. Much more traditional dungeon-y looking places exist. However, they look massive compared to anything you might expect based on the shrines. And don't get me wrong, I actually really enjoyed all the puzzles from the shrines, and it seems like we're going to see a lot more elaborate versions of those types of puzzles. We saw dropping into like a floating sphere that had something going on in it, lasers, we saw friggin' Eponia, lots more ancient machinery coming out of walls, and I mean, it looks absolutely crazy. Everything is happening in this trailer. Breath of the Wild sort of has this serenity to it that one might find only in a post-apocalyptic world that has been kind of destroyed and people are sort of spread out. There's kind of the feeling of just pulling through this 100 years after a horrible event. But the feeling I get from this is just epic. There is a huge story that is going to expand on everything that we saw in that last game. That gentle, quiet serenity was kind of a world built on top of an unease, that something was coming. And what Link fought at the end of that game was clearly perceived by a lot of people in this world as the thing that could have been coming. But clearly, it's so much bigger than what they thought. The battle for Hyrule is so much more involved. Like, it feels like the epic battle with Ganon at the end of Breath of the Wild was actually kind of just the first shot fired in a huge conflict that you're about to have to wade through and ultimately win. This trailer completely creates that feeling. And I think that has given us a sense of what we're supposed to expect from this game better than anything else they've shown us previously. And holy hell, they did it in the most hype way possible. Like, I don't think I've really legitimately felt hyped after a trailer for a video game like this in a really long time. And it's not that kind of suspicious hype that a lot of trailers have sort of created for us by promising a lot. I don't feel like they've really promised us a lot. I think they've stitched together all of these little things they've carefully told us about for a couple of years now and just been like, and this is what it looks like all together. You're welcome. Like, that's pretty much what happened here. And I'm excited. I can't wait to play this game. How about you? Leave us a comment. Let us know what you think. If you like this video, click like. If you're not subscribed, now's a great time to do so. We upload brand new videos every day of the week, and the best way to see them first is, of course, a subscription. So click subscribe. Don't forget to enable notifications. And as always, we thank you very much for watching this video. I'm Falcon. You can follow me on Twitter @FalconTheHero, and we'll see you next time right here on gameranx. Right here.